What happened to Shakur? Just a few years ago, Shakur Stevenson was one of the most hyped boxing prospects, but as of late, he's had lackluster and underwhelming performances. So this is the problem with Shakur Stevenson.
In 2021, I remember watching Shakur Stevenson tee off and destroy Jamel Herring, stopping him in the 10th round, and that was an emphatic performance. We saw pretty much everything for Shakur: the combinations, the defense, the movement, how he was able to hit and not get hit, but still put a beating on Jamel Herring. But over the years, as he's moved up in weight, as he's fought higher level competition, we really haven't seen that much out of Shakur Stevenson. In his next fight against Oscar Valdez, he put on another good performance, dropping Valdez in the 6th round, beating him via unanimous decision. But as of late, in his recent couple of fights against specifically Edwin de los Santos and Artem Harutyunyan, he just had such low output and did not put on the same kind of show. Even though we got the unanimous decision wins, he's just not been looking the same.
And it's just really tough to see, to be honest, because like you were mentioning that Jamel Herring fight, of course you could say maybe Jamel Herring isn't the greatest of all competition, but still that was definitely a sight to see, especially for a young up and coming fighter. But ever since, just some lackluster performances, but Shakur has come out and said that he's had so many hand injuries, and he even heard it in his most recent fight against Josh Padley. So that's definitely tough to hear. And of course, we know a similar situation with one of the greatest of all time, Floyd Mayweather, who back in his pretty boy era, before his hands were hurt, was able to stop and hurt opponents and was considered more excited than the later on in his career being Money Mayweather after all the hand surgeries. And it kind of looks like a similar situation in a way, where he's going more to decisions. Of course, he did finish his last opponent, Josh Padley, but let's be honest, the competition there is not very intense at all. They just got this guy on super late notice after Kid Austin had to pull out due to illness. And Padley had to stop from being an electrician working on his 9 to 5, coming out on no camp to come and fight pretty much. It's not like that was the greatest opposition, and the fights before that were just really not entertaining at all. Yes, he got the win, but it's just the way he did it, in which everyone that watched it were not fans of at all, in which it just looked like he was running away, stepping back all the time, and not engaging.
Yeah, and the difference is here with Shakur and Floyd is that Floyd was doing that towards the end of his career and against very, very elite level competition. He wasn't just doing this against guys like Edwin de los Santos, the guys Shakur's been fighting, but against the likes of Oscar de la Hoya, Shane Mosley, Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez, Marcos Maidana, the list goes on. Canelo and more. Floyd was fighting the who's who of boxing, and people always wanted to tune in and watch Floyd fight, kinda unlike Shakur, because people aren't as interested in his character, his promotion, his ability to sell a fight, because it's just not as entertaining. He was even getting booed in Saudi Arabia even after the stoppage, which is usually where you want to turn the crowd. You want to make these haters into fans, turn the haters into lovers, and embrace the performance he's had, especially after getting the first stoppage in about 2 years for Shakur. But that wasn't the case. The fans in the arena still were not impressed whatsoever, and it's just a tough situation for him because he is being himself and not trying to be someone he's not by putting on an act, putting on a character, but it's just kind of unmarketable, and the performances don't help it whatsoever right now.
Yeah, and more onto what you're saying. There's definitely a lot of people that even criticize just his general character and kind of what he posts online too, and the way he tries to go at some other high-level fighters. And people are not big fans of that, especially when he's put up those performances which are boring. At the end of the day, that's not the biggest thing because he's still winning fights, and a lot of people too argue that that's to hit and not get hit, which he's been doing. He has amazing defense, everyone knows that. But of course, there's the other side to boxing too, which is the entertainment value, and that's definitely still a big part of it. Yes, Shakur is winning fights, but we don't really see much offense from him, nothing really lethal, and nothing to get people out of their seats really. And I mean, at the end of the day, he's still a fairly big name. He's going to get those opportunities regardless, really, if his fights are that boring, because people still want him to fight the top competition because of how good everyone knows he is and his skill set. Everyone knows he is a top fighter. It's just kind of how he goes about winning the fights that he is winning. And as well, I think now it's also time people see him take higher competition as well. He signed with Eddie Hearn, and he's fighting on the Saudi card, so I'm sure they could get a deal done for him to fight some top guys around his weight division.
Yeah, and I feel like a big problem for Shakur also is that he isn't really willing to take those risks, which, I mean, to be fair, this is a dangerous sport. You don't want to just go out there and take brain damage, get hit in the head as much as possible. Obviously, no one wants to see that, but at the same time, if you want to put on a show, if you want to go out there and get highlight reel knockouts, which it doesn't really seem like Shakur wants to do, but that's how you get the fans behind you. That's how you get people to watch, people be entertained. Like, if you compare Shakur to a guy like Tank Davis, who maybe isn't the most fair comparison, but Tank can sell at this point with anyone because people know what they're getting. He's a character, whether it's the Instagram clips of him doing dances on Instagram, doing some zesty dances, or it's him in the ring, knocking out opponent after opponent, a 95% knockout ratio. You know what you're getting with Tank. He's going to entertain, do backflips on his opponent's bodies after knocking them out. Like, Shakur just hasn't been able to break out into that mainstream audience in the world of boxing, and it's going to be tough to do if he keeps on putting on these performances and doesn't sell himself, unless he does something crazy, like just fully turns heel and embraces the villain role. And I feel like something to that degree could be a good move for his career, to really just go into the fact that he's boring, he'll do whatever it takes to win, and no one could beat him, I'm unbeatable, I'm undefeated, whatever, and just completely go into that. That is a big risk if he does end up losing, and that could backfire. But regardless, that character could be something, which he kind of already is, known to be more of a trash talking guy, and is pretty polarizing, not the most liked guy already as it is. So I feel like if he just went into that a little bit more and didn't act like he was always going to be this entertaining guy, because he goes on Twitter and it says, in my next fight, you're going to see something completely different. I'm going to be all over my next opponent, destroying them, and that's not usually what we see.
And really, if these hand injuries are as bad as he's stating they are, it's not like things are going to change and he's going to become some crazy knockout artist out of nowhere. And this would kind of have to be the path that he just has to embrace. Get past all the criticism of people calling him boring and just make best of all of his situations, dominate all his fights and all of his performances, and get the dub regardless. Because eventually, if he keeps winning, he's going to be at the top of the division. He's going to be on top of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say he's kind of already doing that, though, in that sense, because he's getting us to talk about it, for example, or he's getting people to talk about the fact that, oh, he says he's going to do this and then does another thing. So that's already kind of being the villain, but it's just the fact that casual audience, the casual market, also to do with the level of opposition he's been fighting, not any real marquee names, hasn't fought the likes of Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, Gervonta Davis. Like, you need one of these big fights to really get your name out there, and you need great dance partners. Look at the path that Floyd Mayweather took, the guys he fought, the names that he was fighting in his career. Even when he was at the age of Shakur Stevenson, he was fighting guys like Ricky Hatton, and there's definitely talent, there's definitely potential there for Shakur. I feel like he just has to unlock it and really either become a character, maybe take a bit more risks in fights, become more of an exciting fighter. But at the end of the day, let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. Can Shakur Stevenson break through from this period in which people view him as a boring champion? But be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and check out this video on why Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. will not be close.